understand the last time that it is not Washington, D.C. that Nancy went to. This Washington is a bit far from that Washington. That's how come our friend has to stay up very late to speak to us. His name is James Mark Gbeda. James is a lecturer. No, not actually a
researcher.
A researcher, a lead researcher. Do you have a thing so that I can refer to it? Okay. Is research economist, Western Washington University, and lead analyst. Thank you very much for your time and good morning to you.
Good morning, Sana. Nice to join you once again, and good morning to our cherished listeners.
I hope you're well.
I'm good. Always exciting to have this conversation around our economy. So I'm excited about it.
And I'm sure you've been looking through the document that was presented by the finance minister since on Thursday to Parliament. If you have, what are your immediate observations?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I've been looking into the media review that the Honorable Finance Minister presented on Thursday. I think the media actually suggests that this is a government that is focused on ensuring macro stability, and beyond that, it's also focused on job creation after establishing macro stability. One key distinction between the media budget and the actual budget that was presented last year, November, is that the media kind of show more report on progress so far, whilst the original budget showcased the policy that the government intend to implement. So this media has actually shown some key indicators as to what the targets have been and what the achievement has been so far up to the middle of the year 2026.
And it seems from listening to him that aside perhaps revenue, which they underperformed by I think 0.1 percentage point, I'm not sure how it is measured, but aside that one, everything else is looking good.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. If you look at the other indicators, for example, real GDP growth, I think we had this conversation on Thursday as well. We are a little above the target. The target was 4.8, and now the government, the real GDP is around 6.4% for the first quarter of 2026. If you look at non-oil part of growth, the target was 4.9 and the actual is 6.3%. Inflation, we are hovering around 5.3%. The target is plus and minus 2 of 8. So I think if you look at those high-level macro indicators, overall, they are within targets. One thing that I wanted to also point out is that I did not see a lot. Again, we spoke about this the last time. I did not see a lot about employment and how we are doing in terms of job creation. I was expecting to see more of detailed explanation and kind of data on how we are doing on employment, but that did not really show up in the media budget.
And now come back to that, and of course, because it was one of the major issues you raised. But before that, to note one thing, government seems to, despite the good performance when it comes to, you said macroeconomic stability, they have decided to maintain the target set in the main budgets. What do you think government is trying to avoid, or perhaps not to do in this situation?
No, I think it's just reasonable to do that in the sense that if you set a target and your indicators are suggesting that you are getting close to those targets or even exceeding those targets, and you still have about 5 months to the end of the year, given the policy interventions that the government is rolling out and implementing, I think it just makes sense from my perspective to maintain those targets because there is a lot that could happen within the next 5 months. and you don't want to kind of be shifting the goalpost, moving your targets here and there, because that also orients some changes in policy implementation. So if you are moving your target around, you cannot just move the target around and expect that the target should be achieved without changing some specifics in your policy. And so I think that is why the government will think of maintaining their target for the rest of the year, given that a lot could change. Another dimension to that could be that, we have a lot of geopolitical issues going around. We spoke about the war in Iran last time, right? These things you have to also factor in your forecast and your outlook. And so factoring those in, you want to also make sure that these factors are being taken care of as you project into the next half of the year. So I feel like it's quite reasonable to maintain those targets.
And also the thing about expenditure versus revenue. Revenue, yes, underperformed a little, but what the government has also done is to spend less than the projected over the period. What's your comment on that?
Well, I think a couple of things. The fact that government is trying to make sure that they achieve the 1.5 target of primary surplus that is required by the IMF, right? It kind of plays into the idea of why they are reducing a bit of spending and also cutting down expenditure. What that does is that you are better off not, spending a lot and cutting down on borrowing and also cutting down on interest than exceeding those, and also at the end of the day, breaching the IMF contract or obligations. That will actually affect our credit rating and therefore bringing us back to where we were before. If you have good credit rating, that means that, then I think of it like somebody who you know and trust is coming for you for financial support or borrowing. You are likely to offer the person a lower rate or terms and conditions than somebody who is very risky or likely to default. And as a government, as a country, we don't want to position ourselves such that we are seen as an economy that can easily just default or very risky. We want to position ourselves as an economy that is very resilient and can pay back our debt. That is what is going to give us some kind of favorable terms and conditions of any loan facility we are looking for. So I think doing that in a way to make sure that we are within the IMF conditions is one reason, and also support our fiscal consolidation plans.
And it seems your major concern is the fact that you still did not hear about how well we are doing when it comes to employment.
Then 100%. And I am concerned about that because of the following. Look, if you look at the Ghana Statistical Report on unemployment for the first to the fourth quarter of 2025, the numbers are really, really scary. Look, youth unemployment remain as high as 32.5% for people within the ages of 15 to 24 years. 32.5%. What that means is that if you take 100 youth between the ages of 15 to 24, close to 33% of them, close to 33 of them do not have job or are unemployed. That is big. If you count down to, or if you expand the boundary a little bit to 15 to 35 years of people, or people within the ages of 15 to 35, the unemployment rate was 21.9% over the same period in 2025. Okay, so the national average for all ages, all who are qualified to work for unemployment is 12.8% as of Q3 2025. This is a bit of decline compared to what we saw in 2024. But again, these numbers are telling us that, look, there are a lot of youths out there who do not have jobs. Okay. And so And if you look at the budget statement, the title of the budget statement says that it's for creating environment and also creating job. So for specifically media budget, it says that resetting for growth, jobs, and economic transformation. So job is key to this government as laid out in the budget. And therefore, anytime I read a budget and I do not see specific numbers as to which sectors are doing in terms of job creation, even if it's coming from the private sector, it always gives me a bit of concern.
I see. And in terms of the creation of jobs, where do you think the government should be looking at? Because if you listen to some people, they have the opinion that if what is being proposed in the 24-hour economy, under the 24-hour economy program is implemented, it will go a long way to help. There are those who also talk about government is doing a lot of infrastructure work. The question is how much of what is being done under Big Push and many other infrastructure programs is affecting those job numbers you talked about. So you were looking, you wanted to hear what has changed.
Exactly. So I don't know if it's an issue about communication or whether it's an issue about data or what exactly the issue is. Because Senna, if you promise the people of Ghana that you want to create jobs and you've established a secretariat that is looking at the 24-hour economy, right? You have big push. What is preventing the government and all the agencies involved in this activity to be able to produce numbers to show how many people are being employed in these sectors? What is more compelling than giving us numbers to show that this is what is happening and these numbers are verifiable? Because if you talk to somebody and say, oh, the 24-hour economy is working, well, what are the numbers? I think it would do the government a lot of favor to come out with some very verifiable numbers about how many people are being employed, either by a big push or in the construction sector, manufacturing, refinery, or wherever. That would be very helpful to all of us. I'm also making this comment because if you look at the employment report again from the Ghana Statistical Service for the third quarter of 2025, 70% of employment comes from agriculture, forestry, fishing, wholesale, retail, and manufacturing. 70% for these sectors combined. Well, it sounds to me like 24-hour economy is supposed to be running through all these sectors, right? So, and you have agencies or ministries that are responsible for all these sectors. So if the 24-hour economy is running and working very well in all these sectors, what does it I don't think it takes much for the agencies or government agencies leading these sectors to get reports from those on the ground to kind of demonstrate how employment is being created in these areas.
I see. I see. So so this remains a major concern. But aside that, you realize that the government is still engaged in huge infrastructure work, among others. What's your comment on the emphasis on those?
Yeah, I mean, since I moved from Ghana to the US, I've seen a very huge difference in facilities like road, hospitals, schools, and stuff like that. And I would love to see my country get to that kind of level where there are really, really quality roads that you can drive on, even if you have to pay for it, like in the form of a toll. So I am a big supporter of big push and also infrastructure development in the country. But my bigger question would be that, okay, to what extent are we monitoring these projects and making sure, one, we are having value for money, and two, the projects are being undertaken to the best of the resources we have to meet quality requirements, and they are supposed to be very sustainable. because I've seen roads constructed less than a year, over a year, then develop potholes. We don't want to do that because capital investment is big, it's costly, and so it's even more costly if they are not done very well. So yes, I would say very kudos to the government on focusing on infrastructure. Look, people will say, we don't eat road or whatever, but I think the value of road is really big. My father is a farmer, and then what it takes to get your goods to the market is road. And that kind of access transform lives, transform businesses, and I cannot underestimate the importance of infrastructure like road, hospital, and schools. So yes, I'm a big supporter of the big push, but again, taking that extra step, either by the government or whoever is in charge, to make sure that we are getting value for our money is what I'm actually concerned about.
And let me conclude by taking your comments on, of course, the biggest concern with this government coming to power was the kind of debt situation they were inheriting from the past government. It seems they have gone back to the idea of a sinking fund where that they use as a tool for paying down those debts. But it looks like it will all come to more of a head in 2027, 2028, 58 billion in 2027, 53 billion in 2028. Are you convinced from listening to him that this idea of putting money into the sinking fund will suffice?
Well, I think debt servicing can come from different dimensions, and you want to weigh the cost involved in the various options to make sure you are selecting the one that with the minimum cost but with a higher return. Um, the sinking fund, I think, is a great idea, but I'm yet to be very informed about what the alternatives are, because we call something on return on investment. When you are choosing one option, you compare the return on investment versus the other option. I'm yet to see that kind of comparison to be able to conclude that um, going with the sinking fund is the best alternative for the government. But then I wanted to also comment a little bit about some of the structural changes in
Okay,
terms of
go ahead.
uh, how, for example, the Bank of Ghana is not going to be financing the gold board directly as they used to do.
Mm.
I think those are big ones as well, because all the funding from the government to all these agencies come down to expenditure and therefore affect our debt situation. And so if you push gold board to a situation where they are able to sustain their own and also can seek financing from the private market, I think that is a good thing. And putting gold board on a path of self-sustainability rather than relying heavily on the central bank is also something that is worth commending for that.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. Nice to talking to you again.
James Mark Gbeda is research economist, lead analyst, Western Washington University. Join us from that's in the United States. Taking us exactly 40 minutes past 7 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5 FM. We'll turn to one other group in Ghana shortly. But before we do that, Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited invites you to the 6th Women in Trade and Investment Conference 2026 from July 29 to 31st July 2026. So it's 2 days away. That's why I had to remind you at the CBG SME Center, Blackmore at Kokomlemle near Paloma Hotel from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day under the theme Financial Avenues for Women. Yes, Financial Avenues for Women Entrepreneurs. This is your chance to connect and join a movement that supports women in trade. Experience the joy of shopping with fantastic offers on a variety of products from over 70 dynamic SMEs across the country, all under one roof. Tell a friend to tell a friend. For inquiries, reach us on 0302 216000. You can also email us at talktous@cbg.com.gh or visit our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Terms and conditions apply. CBG, we stand with you. And are you looking for quality fuel that gives your engine smooth performance? Don't look any further. Gov'T Super XP is of premium quality and gives you the correct choice when buying regular fuel. Gov'T Super XP is fortified with a special additive that gives longevity to your engine, makes your engine perform to the max using minimal fuel that takes you further. Just go fuel up your vehicle and enjoy the smooth ride with all the benefits. As you journey the road, look out for Gov'T stations and fuel up your vehicle with quality you can trust. Gov'T Super XP. SM, you here.
Ufilia, huh? Ubefili.
Well, it's good energy. And of course, Adam was taking us to some of the highlights from the budget.
Yeah.
Where were we?
We
We were talking about the IMF.
Yes.
Okay.
We were on the PCI focus.
Okay.
Fiscal consolidation, debt sustainability, governance, monetary policy, and financial stability and inclusive growth.
Okay.
Those are the things they seek to achieve